without sounding corny, but if I hadn't have been through the program to this point, I would probably be thinking about winding business up. But I know now that it's well within my skill set to be able to confidently sell these other products, and I have been doing so over the last 2 months. And so making that transition, 12 months ago, I think might have been a bridge too far, and certainly with the consultant I was working with at the time, maybe I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation now. So I think what I've been able to take out, the biggest thing I've probably taken out of the program is it's given me it's given me an overall strategy in terms of that business framework, and having that understanding of my numbers and costs, etc. But it's the mechanics of actually how to best utilize the Facebook ads platform to reach an audience. From someone who has worked in advertising on the creative side, I knew the strategy of Facebook and how important it was in communicating with an audience, but I had no idea how to get in there and use it. I have a comprehensive understanding now of how it works, and so I have a much clearer understanding of the levers that I can pull. I can see really clearly when an ad launches, and is it working? If it's working, great. If it's not working, stop it, go again. And things that I just didn't understand 12 months ago. And now that I have that understanding, I've got that confidence that I could launch a new ad set tomorrow and know that if it's working, I can rinse and repeat. And if it's not working, I turn it off and move in another direction. So, and again, that's probably challenged my preconceptions about advertising, where in days gone by, you came up with an ad campaign and that run for 3 months, and at the end of the 3 months, you might get a few results, and that's just simply not the case now. And so it's challenged my understanding of how to best communicate, and that's very different to how it used to be even 5 years ago. The depth of the detail that certainly Daryl goes into in those videos is incredible, and I certainly haven't seen anything else like that. Done more than a few courses of various in various genres, but yeah, the detail is incredible, and I think and again, I'm probably a little bit biased in coming from an advertising background and having a reasonable understanding of what's going on. I find it all very easy to follow. I know other people come with different backgrounds and might find some things more challenging, but from someone who's got a reasonable base, the detail provided in the videos covered probably 90% of everything I needed to know, and with a few calls and a few specific tailored questions and answered, it's very comprehensive. And so that's that would be my biggest takeaway when I found your ad. Just that sort of miraculous timing, so to speak. I'd probably come off 2 or 3 of the most challenging months in the business that I've had, period. Off the back of my daughter being born and a few life complications, things had really ground to a halt. I decided that the media partner that I'd been working with wasn't really doing enough for me. It was costing me a lot of money. And so I parted ways with them. And I think it was within about 3 weeks of that happening that I found your ad. And so, just serendipitous that that was sort of ending, and I was in this sort of nowhere in between place, thinking about what's going to happen next. And then I found the program. So in terms of timing, it was it was perfect for me. I probably wouldn't have been looking ultimately 6 months earlier for that. Things were going okay. And so I wasn't in the mindset of looking to sort of take it back on myself and probably take more ownership of everything, full stop. So the fact that things had sort of slid a little bit, meant that I was looking for some help ultimately, and that's how I came across how I came across the program. I mean, I worked in advertising for 10 years, but in the creative side. So media was something that you shipped out. It was something that was always outsourced in my world, and so when it came to me wanting to use media, I outsourced it because that wasn't something that I thought I did or needed to do. Maybe more to the point. What I probably didn't think through or really understand at the time was the business implications of not being completely across the mechanics of the advertising side of things. When I was working with the consultant, I was still feeding the creative, but had no real understanding ultimately of the mechanics of the media side. And so that previous baggage probably, took me on my journey for a few years, and ultimately, didn't lead me to where I wanted to go. So that going through the program has really opened my eyes to how important the mechanics and that underlying engine of the business is, and having all of that information, whether that's me actively continuing to do all of those parts, but certainly having that overall understanding is super critical. Going through the programs maybe changed my strategic view on my business a little bit as well. Having not just heard what Daryl says about things, but having heard other people's businesses and business models, and probably understanding the value of that customer is probably something I've undervalued to this point. And realistically, I wasn't getting a lot of repeat sales, mostly because one person buys one board and then you grow out of that board and then you're done. And so the new product that I'm developing is very much going to be a product that I can resell to the same customer ultimately. Versions of. And so kind of taking that on board to say, okay, it's not just about selling a product once, it's about selling a customer on an idea and then getting them to come back and buy repeatedly. And I can see the value, the long-term value, the lifetime value of that to the business, as opposed to constantly be chasing new customers all the time, and the cost of that to the business ultimately. So probably a mindset shift in how to look at my business through the program definitely has probably been a big one for me. For a small business owner that wants to, I guess, take responsibility for the direction of the business, I think educating yourself is the way to go about that. And certainly in my experience, the education that All Good Profits offers is second to none. And the depth of detail and the overarching strategy, but also the step-by-step on how to apply that strategy is probably the biggest takeaway for me. And the investment in your time in doing that, you'll be able to apply for years to come.